computer. Okay, just started recording. For the record, the chair has started the meeting. We'll go ahead and start with the officer reports. I don't believe Lisa is going to be able to be with us tonight. She informed us that she doesn't have a report. I have not seen Roger on the call either, but as usual, his report is bills are paid and money's in the bank.
I am here.
Roger?
Hey, Roger.
But I have no report.
Good evening, Roger.
Good evening.
Good. Okay. And what do we have from the office of the recording secretary, Alex?
Thanks to Joe, and we've got a lot of the news out about our grants. It was a little bit later than we wanted to announce it, but we have gotten those out, telling people to request grants. So
thank you, Alex. I give the lion's share of the credit back to you, sir. Okay, Mickey, what do we have from the office of the corresponding secretary?
I actually have lots of stuff. So one, we got all the landowner Christmas cards mailed out. So everybody, should be receiving those very shortly, if not already. So that's good. And I sent a few to people that are not landowners too. Like I sent one to the SCCI and Steve Davis and just some few people that are kind of pillars of the community. So if there's anybody else that you want me to get one out to, you can definitely shoot me a message. Let's see. So that's the first thing. And then I checked the mail today and we got two things of note. We got a thank you letter from the NSS. And basically the gist is, thank you for your support and generous donations. Because of you, on August 10th, we paid off the mortgage for the NSS headquarters and conference center. So that's pretty cool. And we also got something from the IRS that says your organization may be required to file a form 990-N. So I don't know who to send that to. You, Joe, or Roger?
That'd be Roger.
Send it to me.
Okay. I'll send it to you. And I also have stuff to talk about in terms of the Christmas party and all the events that we have coming up for next year. I didn't know if you wanted me to put that in my report, Joe, or just if we're going to talk about that later.
Christmas party.
I mean, nothing, just kind of a refresher.
Oh, okay. So my first choice would be to handle that under announcements. Is that good with you?
Yep, sounds good.
Cool.
So that's all I have.
Thank you, Mickey. Okay, Anna was telling me she's trying to get on, but she got kicked out. I'm not sure why. She has not conveyed a report to me. We may have to circle back to that. So that Anna's report is public relations. We can't get that right now. GU editor, no report there. Chair report. Do I have a report? Let me check my notes here. I can't remember if I have a report. I do not have a report. Okay, the chair has no report. Moving right along. And which thing am I looking at here? Is this December? Yes, the December one. Okay. Lisa, are you on the call for the cave-in chair report?
Yes, we're having our CAB wrap-up meeting, the Cave-in Advisory Board meeting Sunday after the Christmas party at 10 a.m. And all grotto members in good standing are welcome. Would love your feedback.
Excellent. All right. Thank you, Lisa. Okay, so Christmas party. Go for it, Mickey.
Okay, I just want to remind everybody the Christmas party is this coming Saturday. It is at Jeff and Nina's place. If you register for the event, you'll get the address and details. We are requesting that you wear an ugly sweater, bring a side dish, and also we're going to do a $15 or under white elephant gift exchange. So if you feel like bringing one, that would be amazing. And it's going to be a bunch of fun. Oh, also, it is going to be rainy. So if you plan on camping, make sure that you bring rain jackets, muck boots, and tarps if you have them. And that's it.
Excellent, thank you. Okay, Anna's looking for the meeting ID and password. Should need it. Can somebody help her out with that? Okay, let's see. Other grotto announcements include, don't forget, elections are coming up in January. Full members may vote for candidates. Full members may also run for board positions, and all board positions are up for election. So if you're not a member of the NSS, don't forget to join the NSS. It is most certainly not too late. General reminder, don't forget to send your trip reports in to whole story at dogwoodcitygrotto.org. Hey, it's bragging rights and we love it. Now, on a somewhat more somber note, it is my sad duty to report that we did lose a longtime caver, Nigel Rochester, passed away of natural causes. He handled security for the cave-ins for 30 years, and we actually have a little bit of a write-up that I want to go over, just a little bit of a tribute. So I'm going to remember how to work this thing. Give me just a second. Let's see. Almost there. Let's try this again. There it is. Okay, you should see a picture and kind of an obituary right there. That's our dearly departed Nigel Rochester. And I'm about to switch my screen. Somebody let me know if it switches any other screen. Did it switch, or are you guys still seeing Nigel?
Went to Cater's Code.
That's too bad. Okay, give me just a second. I'm gonna have to close that document, and here, and I don't have this open. All right, so I'm a butterfingers tonight. Okay, Nigel with his wife Edna handled security for the cave-in for 30 years. Interestingly enough, he patrolled on horseback one year, and he, along with ET and others, was guilty of participating in carbide bomb wars of the distant past. I will emphasize distant past. We don't do the carbide bombs anymore. It can really get us in serious trouble. Don't go there. But back in the day, we had the good old boys doing the carbide bombs, and everybody laughed and everybody loved it, and nobody ever took responsibility for it. He was originally hired to do security for the cave-ins because we were having trouble with local teenage boys crashing the cave-in. As a local with 2 teenage sons at the time, he could recognize the culprits and throw them out. Hey kid, I know your mom. How far do you want this to go? He also cooked for the work weekend once, loaned the grotto a smoker before we had one, let us store our property with him as we left Sequoia Caverns, and did numerous favors for the grotto and our members over the years. Became a good friend to many people and will be missed. And that concludes that little bit. At this moment in time, I'd like to just hold a moment of silence for fond remembrance, friends still burning and memory bright. Rest easy, Nigel. The grotto is doing well. Okay, Anna, are you able to
Hey.
communicate?
Joe?
Yeah. Able to communicate.
Mickey, what's up?
Sorry, we also just lost another caver, Mark Hodge, just a day or two ago. Just wanted to let you know.
Oh my goodness, Mark Hodge. I hadn't had the opportunity to put that in the agenda. I tell you what, does anybody have a story to tell about the Mark?
I don't know him. I think he was a Virginia caver.
Virginia Caver. Maybe I can get some information about Mark and put it in the next program.
Nina would be a good person to reach out to. I know she was just talking about him. So you can reach out to her probably at the Christmas party and maybe get her to tune in on the next meeting regarding Mark.
Okay, thank you. Anna, we kind of we skipped over your report because you were having issues getting on the call. Do you have a report to deliver to the grotto?
No, I do not have any report. Sorry about the technical difficulties.
Glad you could join us. Good to have you. All right, moving right along. That is, that's all of the announcements. What about any old business members or officers wish to bring up? Going once, going twice. How about any new business anyone wants to bring up? Any new crazy ideas? Going once, going twice. I don't even have any crazy ideas right now, and that's kind of rare. So it's time for tonight's program. Mr. Secretary, the bragging rights are yours. Would you please introduce our guest presenter for the night?
We have the one and only Dane Alex, who has had he's been surveying this great cave, and he's here to tell us about it, and I'll help out along the way. But Dane is the leader of this whole exploration thing. So, Dane, are you ready?
Yes, I am ready. Am I able to share my screen, Joe? Do I have the permission to do that? You know what? I'll
have the power.
Okay, we're gonna press the button. Someone will have to make sure that it is doing the thing. I guess just let me know. All right, is that? Let's see. Yep.
Starting to do the thing.
Okay, it's doing the thing. We're gonna do it.
I think that's
It's
it.
doing it. We can see it.
Oh man, there it is. Okay. So Alex, I'm gonna have you look at the chat. If anyone has any questions, you can put that in there, or you are welcome to just interrupt me. I'm the teacher, so that happens all day long anyways. All right, water pipe cave. Let's see, hopefully you can see my mouse. I'm gonna highlight the water pipe right there. We'll talk about that more in a second, but there is indeed a water pipe coming out of this cave for which it gets its name. It's the entrance is right here. It's kind of a little crawling, stooping entrance, and then Alex and Carson Majors are right here. There's another sort of upper climb down entrance there. So the history of the cave. 3,000 acres were given to the Talley family in 1833 for their service in, I talked to Mr. Heath, he called them the Indian Wars. I'm not exactly sure which war he was referencing, but they were given to him or his family in 1833. He's not exactly sure when the pipe was installed, but sometime from 1893 to 1945, they installed the pipe in the cave, ran it all the way down the mountain so that the family could have water in the valley. Not exactly sure why they didn't just get water from Tally Ditch Cave, but maybe water pressure. Maybe the water pressure is better if you take it from the mountain. I don't know. He did tell me they used it all the way until the 1980s when they eventually had a well dug and installed. But water pipe cave. All right, this is balcony sink, and all of the water in the waterfall comes from water pipe cave. Let's see, my pointer mouse is right there at the cave. It's right there. It kind of cascades down. There's a 10-foot waterfall, falls some more, and then all that water goes into balcony sink. And there is the old map of Balcony Sink. If you've never seen it before, it's a very, very grand 135-foot, very open air pit, and then quite a bit of cave at the bottom. So all the water from Water Pipe Cave, it goes into Balcony Sink. All right. Here's the original map. This was going to be a one-day project, an easy project. I looked at this map and thought, okay, well, 735 feet, got a couple little big rooms here, some stream crawling, doesn't look like it's going to be too difficult. And then over here at the back of the cave, you see air and too small. So that was slightly intriguing. We thought, maybe it's not too small for us. So yeah, that's the original map. As many people know, Bill Tarot is my favorite caver. I also think most of his maps are usually very lacking. However, this one is actually really good. It's got a lot of detail on there, and our map almost looks exactly the same, except for everything above this passage. Okay, day one of the survey. The too small crawl isn't too small after all. We surveyed, okay, well, let me just tell the whole story here. It was me, Alex, and Carson, and we also had Paige Ashwell and Helen Hicks. Since we had a big group, we sent Paige and Helen like ahead just to sort of scout it out, and so they wouldn't just be bored sitting there with us. They went all the way to the back of the cave and they looked at the too small crawl, and they came back and reported to us that it was too small. So we said, okay, we'll take your word for it. We left our packs, which is what guaranteed we would find passage. If you've ever been on a survey trip, all you need to do is leave your pack behind and you will find more passage. I want Alex to tell the story of actually surveying at the too small crawl, because he was first through it, and I'll let him tell.
Okay, we got there. There's a few stream crawls in the cave and everything, but for the most part, you keep your back dry. And so we get to the end of there, and it's probably a foot tall, and the water's coming from the far wall. And so it looks like, oh wow, if we want to follow the water, then it is way too tight, and that's the way I was looking. And I'm sure that's the way Bill Tarot was looking. But on the side, there was like a little pool of water, and it was just a bathtub. And I was like, you don't want to get in the bathtub, you get your back wet. It's not pleasant or anything. And so I looked over there and I saw the end of it. I was like, that doesn't go. We're done. Dane, can we go back, please? I don't want to be in here anymore. It's cold and wet. And so, we just looked over there, and Dane was like, go make sure it doesn't go. So I popped in the bathtub and paddled over to the other side of it, and looked at this little crack, and there was just blackness over there, and it was so exciting. And I started yelling and screaming, and crawled on out, and I was standing, and as far as I could see, it was just more walking passage. It was so exciting that first going in there. So we set up the survey and we kept going.
Awesome.
That's pretty much the story of going through there. It does not look good, but it's actually less wet than a previous spot in the cave called.
It was tight.
It was, I guess, a little tighter, but I don't know. It was similar. So nonetheless, this sort of ear-dipping bathtub passage leads to standing, booming borehole. Oh, a little bit more backstory. Helen and Paige had left the cave. So in their mind, they think we're going to be done in like an hour. Helen actually set up her hammock over at the trees, the rigging trees at Balcony Sink, and like took a nap. And so we're in Virgin Passage. We're surveying as we go. The whole cave was done, survey as you go. We're going. Earlier in the cave, Alex had said something about there being domes. We're going to find a dome. And I said, there ain't no domes in this cave.
I was asking how big would the domes would be that we'll find.
How big would they be? And I said, there ain't going to be no domes. There's a great cave called Ain't No Cave, because some ridge walkers from Indiana were ridge walking, and they came up on a hunter and said, we're looking for caves. And the hunter said, there ain't no caves on this ridge. But then 5 minutes later, they found the Ain't No Cave, which is a 500-foot deep cave with a 190-foot pit in it. And so, yeah, there were some domes right as soon as we popped out. We surveyed for hours and hours and hours. We had no packs, no water, no food, no supplies, no extra batteries, nothing, because we left them behind.
We ran out of
We were
whiteout too, so we were using
What?
the same flagging tape, and we were like leapfrogging the flagging tape so we could keep surveying because we had no more whiteout.
Yes. Whiteout ran out, so we had to just, yes, keep recycling some extra flagging tape I had in my pack. Yeah, so that's day one of the survey. This is sort of Graham's surprise room. It's sort of the back surprise room. This is a known part of the cave. That's Helen for scale. So it's nice walking passage. As you can see, streams down here. It's dry over here. Lots of soda straws. I think we got 1,000 feet of virgin cave in that first day. There were 2 domes, both more than 40 feet. Everything was, well, maybe like 1 20-foot crawl. Everything was walking, and we eventually stopped in walking borehole because we got worried that no one knew where we were. They were going to get worried about us. We were all meeting back at Steve Davis's that night. So we were slightly nervous that they would be nervous. So we called it and we said we'd come back.
They wouldn't let us keep going. So.
I mean, hey, if I would have kept going if no one was going to be worrying about us. Okay, so we come back on the second day. Pretty exciting to come back to a survey project where you're standing up and it's going passage. 30 minutes into the survey, we go down a side lead and find the crystal tree. It is an 8-foot giant stalagmite. These are both Paige Ashwell's pictures. And there you go. It is absolutely awesome. Wow. Here's Helen Hicks again for scale. This is, in my opinion, the best formation in the cave. Yeah, so the crystal tree. Okay, so we keep surveying, and eventually, as it always does, the passage degrades into a stream crawl again. We crawl in a stream, kind of nasty, but eventually we hear in the background a big rumble of water. We survey into this dome room, and here's Chris Whitlaw for scale. And stopping us from going any farther is this 12-foot waterfall, which the picture makes it look a little better than it is, but it's pretty tricky. We turn around at this point. This is day 2. And I think this is 2 days after the first day. This was Labor Day weekend. So this is Labor Day. First day was on a Saturday. This is on Monday. This is the Valhalla Rock Jam Dome. So obviously everyone knows the story of Valhalla in 1984. There's a really nice pit in Hang'em High called the Valhalla Rock Jam Drop, which has like a big jumble of rocks that you rappel through. Well, you can't see it, but in the ceiling are giant, huge rocks like the size of a couch or a refrigerator. And the whole ceiling is like that. So
and
very
cars, big rocks, huge.
Like VW bugs. It's pretty scary to look up at. So nonetheless, we stop at this waterfall because we all decide, well, it can't be climbed. We're going to have to figure out a better way. How can we get up it? Preferably without bringing dome climbing gear. Let's see. Day 3 of the survey. This is Alex's sketch. This was our plan. We were going to bring a rope. We were going to lasso it over this ledge. We're going to tie one end to a big rock, and then we're going to climb up this end and pop into the passage. That was our plan. We tried for about 15 minutes to throw this rope over the ledge. It wasn't going to happen. Alex goes, "Hey, Dane, why don't you come spot me, and I'm just going to climb it." Keep in mind, the previous survey trip, me, Helen, Paige Ashwell had all decided can't be climbed. So Alex goes and starts to climb it, and I'll let Alex tell this story here.
You can show them the last slide, Paul, so they can see what the waterfall again. Yeah. Oh, the last slide. Oh, spoilers.
I go back.
Oh, never mind.
Okay, I'll press exit. Ah!
Ah!
I'll go back into it. It'll go back in. Okay, you go.
Okay, so I went over there to go climb it because I thought, it's almost like a really wide chimney. And so I said, I can do it. And now you can see the waterfall. There's the left side and the right side. I basically just shoved my feet out. You can see how it's like a U. I shoved my feet out and I just like really wide chimneyed it until I got my hands at the lip where the water's coming over. And from there, I just did a pull up kind of thing. And so I belly flopped up there and I had the rope. And so I was like, woo, yay, I made it and whatever else. And there's a ton of air just going through that section right there. And there's nothing to rig to right there, right at the top of it. So I had to go run up a little bit and there's just a shower of just water coming from every direction at the very top. And looking around, there wasn't anything great, but there was a big rock underneath the shower. So I managed to wrap that rock that was in the shower. And so I wrapped that rock and made sure it held and dropped down the rope, and the rope went right down in the waterfall. So it was only a 12-foot climb for them, but they were just getting blasted by the water while they climbed up. But I mean, that was a really fun moment. We got up there and we're up in the Pennington, so we don't think we're gonna go much higher up. We think the cave's either gonna go horizontal or it's gonna die. So that was our expectation. And we got up there and we found out what happens.
Hey guys, what is that black stuff on the rock?
I don't, I'm not much of a geologist, Anna, so
Yeah.
I don't know anything about the rocks that are at the bottom other than they were incredibly slippery and like slimy.
I believe it's just a different type of limestone, and that's just the color it has to it.
Okay.
I kind of like rub my gloves on them, and it's not like a powder coating or anything. That's just kind of the color they are.
Okay.
A lot
So
of
it's
the rocks were
mono.
soft there.
Yeah, they were soft rocks. So like if even with just a glove on, if you took your thumb and just kind of rubbed it back and forth, you would make noticeable wear on the rock. It's softer limestone, and that's what caused it to be slick, because your boot can't grip, because when your boot is on the rock, it's just taking it with it. You can't get traction on any of it.
Cool. Thank you.
Yep. And so just to reiterate, the water here, this is the same water that's going down Balcony Sink. So every bit of water in the waterfall at Balcony Sink, this is it. So
Wow.
so when you're climbing up there, you are in the full force of the Balcony Sink waterfall. So it's no light matter. So yeah. All right. So like Alex said, we get up to the top of this waterfall and we are surveying, and we get to a bunch of really scary rocks in the ceiling. Very scary rocks on the floor. There's scary rocks everywhere. I like to think I do some hardcore caving, but I'm usually always nervous and kind of scared while I'm doing it. It was, I don't know, frightening being in these rooms because the rocks were so scary. Nonetheless, we're surveying up, and 2 times, not once, but twice, we declare, well, we cannot go any farther. There's nothing more to go up. We can't get up this, but not once, but twice, Alex finds a way in a climb up, and we do get up. On the second time, we had actually declared it so much that I put my survey book away. We said, we're done. Alex is like, okay, well, I'm just going to kind of look around. And then he says, well, I think there's a spot over here. I can get us 5 more feet of vertical extent. And I said, Alex, I don't care about 5 more feet of vertical extent. Who cares? Let's go. And he goes, okay, well, I'm just going to go up there and I'm going to scoop it. On this day, it was just me and Carson Majors and Alex. So me and Carson are sitting there, and I'll tell this story, Alex, because it was fun. We're just sitting there for maybe 30 seconds, a minute, and all of a sudden we just hear Alex screaming. And so we figure, well, either something has gone really right or something's gone really wrong. And then we just hear him saying, it's the biggest room in the cave. It's the biggest room in the cave. And so, yeah, it was the biggest room in the cave. And here it is. This is a picture of it. Here's myself and 2 other people. I think that's Chris, and I think that's Kyle Lassiter. It's a really, really big hallway. It's not really a room, but a very, very large hall. It averages 20 feet high, 20-ish feet wide, and it essentially goes for 275 feet long. It curves just a little bit, so you couldn't actually get a shot that long if you'd wanted to, but it's pretty big.
The second portion of it, you could get, it was all straight, the last 200 feet of it, but our efforts to get a picture of that has failed, so. And this was like the widest spot, so this was like 30 or 40 feet wide, wasn't it?
It was, yes.
And this, yeah, this was also maybe the tallest.
Yeah, this is probably the tallest spot. Just huge, giant breakdown boulders. Yeah, you get the idea. So we were pretty excited. We surveyed as we went. We did not scoop it. We surveyed all the way down until eventually, once again, as the passage always does, it degrades into a stream crawl. It was a stooping stream crawl. We said that was a good time to stop there. So we come back on the 4th day of survey, hoping that maybe we could have another breakout, but we do not. We eventually catch back up with the stream, and it keeps going and going and going, and then it gets too tight, but still with air, still with some air. A sort of a side lead back over the main hallway. We do some climb ups, and then Alex does a sketchy climb up, and Helen's behind him. Who, between the two of them, I don't know if I've caved with better free climbers. We get up to 275 feet of total vertical extent. So from the entrance to this high point in the cave, 215 feet for a Pennington cave.
That is the deepest, maybe, it's probably the deepest Pennington cave in Alabama is known.
Wow.
That's only in Alabama. I mean, only in the Pennington.
I've talked to a couple of people, and no one can think of one that's any deeper that's formed entirely in the Pennington. Okay, so let's talk about some final numbers. Original map, we've got 735 feet of horizontal length. No vertical extent is mentioned because it's a built-to-road map. We did not use a clinometer. The current numbers, like I said, 215 feet, and we are now standing at 3,615 feet of horizontal length. So we're well over half a mile. Pretty legitimate cave. The cave is I'm going to call it a B cave. An A+ cave being Tumbling Rock, Lone Rock Blowing Cave, Ellison's, things like that. This is a B cave. There are some nasty spots you have to do. There are 2 ear dippers you have to do. But there is a reward for every difficult thing in the cave. There are lots of formations, tons of soda straws, big rooms, water features, waterfalls. It's a fun cave as long as you're prepared to get wet. So that's my grade. I'm giving it a B. Okay.
How long are the ear dippers, Dane?
What?
How long are the ear dippers?
The second one, the 2 small one, is actually like maybe 10 feet long, Alex. That sound about right?
20, maybe. It's a little bit longer than that, I think.
Okay. It's
It's not a full ear dipper though.
Yeah. And then the one
I
before
like
that. No, not as long as Moody.
What does it mean it's not cool?
why is it not cool, Alex?
It's not a full ear dipper. Not
Oh,
you don't
not
have to really dip your ear.
okay. Thanks.
Hey, Dane,
Yes.
is Plunder Hole a Pennington cave?
Yes, Plunder Hole is a Pennington cave.
But it's not as big?
It's not what?
Well, because you compared this to Plunder Hole?
It's in the
It,
same geological formation.
yeah. So
Plunder
it's
Hole is not as deep though.
No, okay, yeah.
I think Plunder might be a little bit longer, but it doesn't have the same vertical extent. So here's the topo map. and I've got it overlaid there. There's balcony sink. You can see that giant sinkhole. Here's water pipe cave. It goes all the way straight into the mountain. Just for frame of reference, this is the main entrance of Tally Ditch Cave that you drive by on your way to balcony sink. There's the Tally Ditch spring entrance, and there's Gin Cave down there. So just a little topo overlay to kind of give you a sense of what's going on. All right, this is the map. I've zoomed in so we can see it a little bit better. This is the profile. So you've got this long, nasty stream crawl, and then you eventually pop out into the Valhalla Rock Jam Dome. Here's the tricky waterfall climb up. You do get into the magic rock room, which has this extremely large rock that's wedged in and not being supported by anything. Yeah, it's pretty scary. It's being held by magic.
Yeah.
It's the name. Here's kind of the breakout into the big hall. And this is kind of a tough little climb up to get here. And then there's the high point amongst some sketchy boulders. All right, this is the plan view of the crystal tree. Well, this right here is actually the cross section of the crystal tree, but the rest is the planned view. Just to kind of get a little bit of an idea. You're with the stream, got a couple side passages. We did note raccoon tracks fairly deep in the cave, which I find to be interesting because usually raccoons are not super deep in a cave. But the passage does end here, so I'm not exactly sure where they would be coming from.
Dane, do you think that there was another entrance at one time?
Alex thinks that maybe that passage connects to a different spot in the cave, which is like a high point. So maybe there's just like a really tiny, raccoon-sized hole somewhere. Maybe.
Yeah.
This is back in the. Oh yeah. Okay. So there's the wet spot. That's a spot I've referenced a couple times. This is actually the worst spot as far as ear dipping and water crawling, in my opinion. You pop out here into New Discovery. This was Bill Tarot's discovery in 1972. You've got balancing rock, which here's the cross section. This rock is supported by, I don't know, a few inches, and it's just right over the passage. Of course, you would not actually walk underneath it, but I thought for the cross section that'd look fun. Here's the too small crawl. It's kind of two sections, and the way that it looks the best is this way, but it eventually gets to be less than 1 foot and is really too tight for anyone to fit through. This is the way you have to go. 1 foot of water, 1 foot of airspace. And there you have the Ain't No Dome. It's a 40-foot dome. Pretty nice, very decorated. All right, I've gone through all of my slides. Let's see. I'm gonna stop my screen share. Okay. I've been going for at least 25 minutes. I could talk about the cave all day long and take you through the map. I don't want to take too long though. So, okay, I'll give you a little view of the map. We'll view the map. All right, all right. Let's see. Oh, let me open it up real quick. Sorry. Because it is a really nice map and it's almost finished. I'm giving this presentation without even completing this project. Okay.
Wow, Scuba's gonna get us, Dane.
I know. Okay.
Just
let me go
ask
back.
them nicely not to.
That always works. Okay. I'm just gonna put a thing on the tag caver. I'm gonna say, hey, here's this cool cave and there's a few leads left. No one go there. Pretty please. Okay. I opened up the PDF. Ah, there it is. Okay. So here's the map as it stands. I'm going to zoom in a little bit because it's detailed and it's kind of hard to see. And I'm on an old computer and it's very slow, so this might not look great. It's going to take a minute. Okay, well, I'll make this short then. You've seen the map and it's full glory.
It's working.
There you go.
Okay, here's the profile. Here's the entrance here. I mean, you've got some big rooms, some nice rooms, and then of course your crawls, the domes. You come down here. Ooh, there's a long one. I think we got a 115-foot shot. Is that right, Alex?
It was over 100 feet.
Over a 100-foot shot, which I don't like to do, but when you're laying in a stream and there's nothing going on, I allowed it. You got all of that in the big hall, and then that's it. Okay, I think that's the presentation. Let's see. Yep, one last look at it. As soon as it's submitted to the ACS, if you remember, you can go and look at it in its full glory. All right. Any questions?
Awesome.
Nice
Dane.
work, guys. Holy
And
cow.
Alex and Chris.
Yeah, that was awesome. That was a great presentation. Thank you guys.
Very cool.
Carson Majors was a big part. Helen Hicks was a big part. Paige Ashwell, Kyle Lassiter helped on the last day. So, yeah.
I have a question.
Okay.
Talk to me about Pennington limestone. You were saying something like 215 feet of vertical extent in the Pennington layer is unheard of. Why? Why is that unheard of?
Ooh, great question for a geologist. I'm not sure why that's unheard of. I just know it doesn't happen. So think about the Pennington caves that you might be familiar with. Think about the water from Stevens Gap coming out of Lost Cave. That's a Pennington cave. Usually they're crawly and crappy, and they definitely don't go up. So, I mean, you know, essentially all the big pits and caves, they start at the Pennington Banger contact. Water comes out of a Pennington spring, it goes into the Banger layer, and it creates the big pit. So like Neversink. The spring is coming out of the Pennington layer. There is no Pennington cave at Neversink though. So you can basically go to any Tag Classic multi-drop and there's going to be a Pennington cave above it. They just usually don't do anything. I don't know why.
Interesting. So Pennington, is it true then that Pennington tends to be at the top of the limestone layer cake, so to speak?
Yes, it's always above the Banger. Alex, Brandon Crane told us that the Pennington layer at the maximum is 250 feet thick.
Yeah, he said right there, right just north of where our cave is. So he was impressed that we got most of the Pennington there, at least he thinks. And you know, most cavers, when they're pushing a Pennington cave, you know, you're not going to find a pit when you're going from the spring. So there's a loss of motivation there, and it is unheard of to see something like this. So
Did you guys leave a rope at the waterfall to assist yourself up, where you did that wide stem crawl or climb rather?
Yes.
it's just not in the water right now.
Yeah, it's not in the water.
All right, well, I'm ready to go. Take us.
Hey,
Really, really cool, guys. That's awesome. I can only imagine how awesome it was when you first stepped into that room, Alex, after that wet crawl.
Oh man, it was such a fun project. I can't wait to do another one like it. If we're ever that lucky again.
Yeah, I hope you find that.
Alex, I want to talk to you.
So
That's reason.
I noticed that you said there was a water pipe, obviously, hence the name. But Thunder Hole, I noticed a pipe up there. Gourd Neck, I noticed a pipe. At Kegels, I've noticed a pipe. So, are those other caves like Kegels? And I don't know about Gourd Neck, but are they all still retrieving water from the cave? Is the water pipe? You said the water pipe cave. Are they still getting water or no?
Water Pipe Cave is no longer getting water. They've got a well. The only cave in Tag that I can think of, your classic cave, that still is using the water is Gordonick.
Okay.
There used to be a pipe at Balcony Sink as well.
Yep. So how do they get away with, I mean, is that something they have to go through the city for or the county for, or they just do it?
Anna, this is rural Alabama. I'm sure no one is getting a permit to go up on a mountain and get the water.
Sounds like a story for a good steal.
However, as far as water pipes and caves are concerned, Gordonick is one. I believe that Waterworks is another, but that's the only other example I can think of.
There's a cave above. There's a cave above Gordonick that they get some water out of there, but I think it's for the one little trailer house up there.
Interesting.
The interesting thing is almost every ridge walk I've gone on, we've found pipes in the woods. Farmers and homesteaders from back in the day knew where the water was because their life depended on it. So any cave you've found that is wet, probably a farmer has at least seen the entrance of.
Well, we even found a plastic reservoir once on a ridge walk, a big, I don't know, probably like 200-gallon reservoir. That was, I don't know, probably a few hundred feet up the mountain. So someone hauled that up there.
So this is Brent, and if I can get back to the question about the Pennington Formation. The Pennington Formation is made up of layers of limestone, shales, and sandstone. And generally, in most places, the limestone is fairly thin, like 10 or 15 feet thick. And so a lot of Pennington caves tend to be just crawly and not, have much vertical extent and just be kind of mazy, crawly things. So of course the question is then why do you get this one that's 215 feet vertical extent? And if you look at the entrance passage, it looks pretty level streamway, which doesn't suggest like the beds are tilted. And I don't recall seeing really tilted beds at Balcony Sink either. That might cause some structure that you might be able to gain some elevation by, like a dipping rock. So the thing about sedimentary formations is in different areas, you can get more sandstone in one area of Alabama in the Pennington, and then another area you might get more thicker limestones in the same formation. So even though it's the same name, you can get, it won't look exactly the same because it might have formed closer to the shoreline or farther from the shoreline or something like that causes a thicker or thinner layer. So if it's because you have a good thickness of limestone there, then that same area might have other potential in the Pennington too.
Interesting. So does that mean basically that it's the Pennington layer, not the Pennington limestone, and there may be limestone within that Pennington layer?
Right. So if you pay attention to the names, like the Bangor limestone is pretty much all limestone, and the Monteagle limestone is all limestone. But the Hartzell Formation is a formation, and so it is can be made up of multiple, shales, sandstones, and limestones. And the same thing with the Pennington Formation. It's not usually called the Pennington Limestone. It's called the Pennington Formation because it's made up of several different rock types.
Oh, I just learned something tonight.
Thank you, Brent.
Very informative.
There were two very distinct layers of shale, one of which was very, very orange.
Interesting.
And all of our vertical extent basically happened on top of itself. So, and in that area, we had to climb up through a lot of possibly sandstone. I'm not sure what it was, but all those boulders. So
Right. So there's a question of whether right where your vertical extent was that like some sort of fracture zone, and you were actually not going up through limestone per se, but it was kind of more like a fissure cave at that point instead of a solutional cave. So that's one possibility.
and there's a big flat spot on the surface that looks like a sinkhole. And I think that is, at the spot there, it goes up even higher to the highest point in the cave, which seems to line up with that flat spot. So I think that collapse has something to do with a lot of that formation.
Right. So sometimes if you have a fracture zone, a joint, it draws water in, and then you can get the sinkhole forming above that joint. And sometimes it can be the other way around too. Sinkhole forms first. So it's hard to tell the chicken and the egg sometimes.
Yeah, that makes sense.
All right, do we have any other questions? Going once, going twice, moving right along. Usually this is where I would do the new member introduction. I don't think I see any new members on tonight. If you're new and I haven't noticed you, please do speak up. Not hearing anything. Okay, moving right along from there. Come on now. Who went caving?
I've got a good story about how you should definitely not follow Alex up anything too technical without a hand line or a spot.
Yeah, I was wondering when you were mentioning about, oh, did you leave the rope there?
Yeah, exactly. I was like, man, that looks like very similar. Without the water, it looks similar to how I'd mess myself up. So, so Kelly, Alex, and I went to Ellison's on the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, the 23rd. And there's a couple spots that Alex wanted to check out, one of which was the Carrot Passage. And after we got in there, we were lucky enough to check out a little spot called Nas 500, and got to crawl back in there and check it out. Really big, a big drop. And Alex and Kelly actually went down it and then changed over and came back up. I kind of just worked my way around and looked into it. But after that, we proceeded to the Carrot Passage, and it was kind of a little bit of a squeezy bottom of a canyon crawl, if you will, through some the walls had a lot of popcorn on them. I remember Kelly had there's one spot where eventually you're getting your hair pulled a little bit, I think.
That's when you went thud.
Yeah. So that's when we got back to this room where it opens up, and there's a couple others crawly spots that Kelly was pushing in one section, and then Alex and I were taking a look at this other vertical space, which was basically like a stemming opportunity to crawl up onto this shelf. Maybe what do you think, Alex? Maybe like 15 feet up there.
Yeah, that sounds right.
And I started to go up it, and then I decided not to. And then Alex jumped on there, and he skillfully scaled that thing effortlessly. And I kind of watched his hand, foot, elbow, knee placement. And I decided that I was going to go ahead and try it behind him. And everything was going really well until it wasn't. Essentially, I had gotten up, feet were probably about 7 feet off the ground, and my left foothold slipped. And when it slipped, my left hand slipped, and then the right side followed. And I kind of just watched the ceiling go farther away from me until I landed on the floor. And I stuck the landing, but in the process, I jacked up my left foot a little bit. And I guess long story short, I think it was without a spot, it was not a good idea to do that. And I'm a strong climber, but not anything like the Spider-Man that Alex is. So a little bit of a lesson learned. I think ego drive me up that thing, and I paid the price for it. The foot is almost back, I'll happily say. I got lucky that it didn't fracture anything. Got x-rayed on that Friday. It looks like I've got a bone bruise in the heel, but not too bad. And still a little bit of healing process need to be done through the instep of the foot, but it's working really well. And I was in some OCR old racing shoes that I had, which I got a lot of funny looks throughout the past year caving in those things. And long story short, they had good traction and they drained really well. They're light, they work really well. But the key in this particular instance was that it did not have any significant sole protection. So when I was blasting off cave gear later on in the week, those things got tossed in the trash, and I'll be wearing boots from now on. So that's a lesson learned. And the other lesson learned is to check the ego sometimes when you got a young anomaly like Alex leading the way, and make sure you're not taking on a risk that's unnecessary. I think just the idea would be to be careful and mitigate your risk when you can. That's pretty much it. It was a struggle. Got out of there, self-rescued, no problem, but it was a pain in the ass. Don't get me wrong. We still had a lot of vertical rope work to do just to get out of warm-up pit, and the nuisance climb was there. That was a little bit of a pain in the ass. And just from the top of warm-up pit out to the entrance of the cave, out that creek bed, that was probably the most painful part of the walk. And then the hike off the mountain, it wasn't too bad. And there you have it.
Great day otherwise.
Yeah, awesome day otherwise, right? And even finished, we still had smiles on our face when we were back at the trucks. So
And well, at least Alex and I did the little changeover.
yes, that was really cool. I wasn't gonna do that. Not happening.
I appreciate your words of wisdom there, Andy. Definitely that bit about checking the ego, because let me tell you something, I'm still learning that lesson myself. Beyond that, I just tried out muck boots and I wouldn't cave in anything else. You might want to give those a try. Lots of sole protection.
I appreciate that. I've got a pair, but I'm not sold on those things yet.
Okay.
We're gonna try these other boots out first.
Oh, yeah, we are.
Man, we had webbing and everything, and we left it in the room before and should have brought it.
Yeah, there's a few coulda, shoulda, wouldas, right? But
Yeah.
hindsight's 2020. It's nobody's fault but mine, Alex. That's for sure.
Oh no, I still feel bad, but it's all right.
That definitely
I should have
sounds
been
like
there.
an
I
ouchie.
should have thought you.
Yeah, shit. What are you gonna do? It's coming along very nicely though. I'm gonna be back in action this weekend. I got a lace up race. It's just gonna give me a little bit of extra instep support. And outside of that, I've already been using it, doing quite a bit of rehab on it so far. And I think those first 5 days, taking care of it properly was crucial, and it paid dividends.
Well, I have a wonderful trip to report. Another great caving trip with Alex.
Go for it.
Okay. So we went to Stevens Gap, and this time we did, we did pipe side, the main drop in Stevens Gap, and then the pull down, which is the first time I did the pull down for Stevens Gap. Finally, after all the times I've been to Stevens Gap, finally did the pull down. And we had a newbie, Kyle Reinhardt from Ohio. He had done the previous week, he did Rusty's. So he did his first pit was Rusty's, and then his second, third, and fourth or whatever is, the three things that we did that day at Stevens Gap area. And it was mighty wonderful. Thank you, Alex, again.
That was a fun day.
Oh, yes.
Cool. Who else has a story?
I've got one. Saturday, I had the opportunity to help John Zetterberg survey, and we were surveying yet another Pennington cave and found some more virgin passage. Only 100 foot, but it did lead to another entrance not on the survey. So lots of stuff in the Pennington to be found.
Very cool.
I'd like to say that I finally got to do McBride, and it was like the best experience ever, even though the water was kind of low. I learned how to do double rope technique, which was interesting, keeping the ropes not tangled but it was a really fun experience. I went with Dave McRae, Macaria, Doggett, Bradley Jones, and Riley. And it was a good trip.
How wet was it?
Well,
The wet drops were
yeah,
wet.
yeah, the wet drops were still wet, but it wasn't crazy. Moni drop it wasn't too bad. I don't know. I'd like to do it wetter though. Let's say that.
Right on.
Maybe Brent can hop on and tell us about his experience.
No, you're being mean there.
I don't think we want to go there right now.
Day and I 2 days ago had a great time bottoming Elmo's Canyon on the 100-foot pit that's way back in the cave in the Monteagle. Dane had the best warm and fuzzies on our perfectly safe stalagmite, which was backed up to a lot of things. But
How much
we had a great
vertical
time.
work was that, Alex?
How much the entrance pit is, everything's ledgier than it says on the map. The 150 is like a 30, and then the last 100 feet of it is mostly straight, but there's a lot of ledges. Then there's a 15-foot pit, a 13-foot pit, the 100-foot pit, and then there's 2 more pits past that, 26 and
37.
37. Yeah, so
So the
What cave
biggest
is that? What cave is that?
Elmo's Canyon.
Oh.
Dane's got the map right behind his head if you can see it.
I can't.
Did
But it
y'all
was
use
a really fun cave.
Did y'all use relays or just pads? That you said it was ledgy.
We did lots of redirects because they sent me down first, and so I see relay and I just redirect, and it was great. And we actually got short rope because we tried to reblade the 110. So we changed the reblay into a redirect so our rope would touch the bottom.
So the person that got short rope, you had to do a changeover and go back up and
That
re-rig.
was Andy's Elmer had to go back up.
Oh,
What?
Andy.
He was in the water when he had to do the changeover. It was a fair pit.
Oh wow.
That was the one that was rigged to. It was rigged to 3 stalagmites, none of which alone I would call bomber, but with 3 of them there. I mean, they've served cavers since 1976. So.
Cool.
And
It was a great day.
And the pits were a combination. Like the entrance drop had lots of reblays and redirects, and then as you went down, as is almost always the case, the rigging got more scarce and more scarce. So
It was a tight cave too. There's a lot of crawling and squeezes, which I really enjoyed. So I have to put that out
Well,
there.
I hate that I couldn't make that trip. I was too busy busting my butt snowboarding, which I'm probably wanting to try that again. So, but thanks for the invite.
Ask, has anybody been on Valhalla, the road to Valhalla?
Yes, we have.
How bad is it?
They redid it. They regraded it. So, I mean, it's not great, but if you have 4-wheel drive and decent clearance, you're all right.
My Tacoma was smiling the whole way up there and back.
Ah,
Your Tacoma is a transformer. That's all I've got to say about it.
It is fun. But Anna, you were up there too, right?
Yeah, we went together. It wasn't too bad, but I heard that they always like redo the road.
They grade it annually.
Yeah, they grade it. I think more than annually. So
I think it was it Scott or Justin or both that had gone, and it was right after they had a serious flood, really heavy downpour, and it was pretty treacherous, I believe.
did somebody mess up their running boards?
Yes, it was Justin. I was with him. So I was in the passenger seat. And when we got up to the top, I couldn't open my door because the sideboards were bent up. Justin had to come around the side and jump on them to bend them down so I could open my door.
sounds like the first time I was in Valhalla in 2016.
Yeah, it was wild, but it's not too bad.
I
I
know
think you drive.
What?
What?
Darren and Jerry, I know they popped a few tires there, so I feel like it's consistently, or I don't know it consistently, but bad then good, bad then good. It depends, I guess, when they redo it.
Yeah.
So because I could possibly be going this Sunday, I have a permit, and but there's going to be, at least in Chattanooga here, we're supposed to be getting rain pretty much
Rain.
Thursday night, Friday, Thursday. So I didn't know.
Well, there's some really, really deep ruts there that you have to
that-
stay at the top, and you better be careful because those ruts were scarier than the boulders, in my opinion.
Yeah, I believe so. The one single like washout area, that rut that we got to pretty quickly, right? It was quick. It was right after it started getting a little rough, and then we had that pretty big rut. And I think that was the scariest part of the trip.
Yeah, there's two ruts. One is near the beginning, and then you get further into the trail, and there's a longer one that you have to stay up, or because if you fall down into the rut, you may, if you have running boards or anything like that, it's gonna damage. So I'd be careful if it rains a lot.
It might be tougher when it's slick for sure, right, at that area.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering. Of course, I'm not going to be driving it. My vehicle won't do it anyway, so. I was going to see about other runs. Okay.
Mary Ellen. Hi.
Hi.
Oh, Alan. Sorry, I was like, I just saw the Christmas tree and I saw.
I know it says Mary Ellen, but her link, the link was on her email, so.
Oh, good to see you. How are you?
Good.
Good.
I almost forgot about the meeting.
Well, you missed the presentation, unfortunately. It was great.
That's okay. We got it recorded.
It was a good one. Yeah, that's awesome story.
Any other trips somebody wants to brag about? All right. Chair motions to adjourn.
Second.
Okay.
Wait a second. Somebody just messaged me. We're gonna trim.
It's not important.
Okay. 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 With no objections, we are adjourned.